Harry's wife. He's dumped her. This is all for show. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. As I explained in my excellent Sussex series, by understanding the dynamic between narcissist and intimate partner primary source victim, i.e. the relationship between Harry's wife and Harry, we can predict the potential outcomes, which are: he escapes, she disengages, or neither of those things happen. They trundle along until one of them shuffles off this mortal coil. Thus, the roller coaster of devaluation, respite continues. I explained my prediction with regard to that, and in what was seen as most likely, and the order of precedence of those events. Many people are commenting that they believe that Prince Harry has already gone, and therefore he has escaped. This, of course, would cause massive wounding to Harry's wife, and she would look to drag him back in, unless, of course, it suited her that he had departed and she was able to focus on an alternative primary source and others for catering for the prime aims. One eventuality in that regard is that Harry has simply had enough of her behaviour and has departed, and in the circumstances, whilst that wounds her, she very quickly accepts the situation because she realises that he'd largely served much of his use already and that she wasn't going to get much more out of him vis-a-vis his title, and that she would be better off focusing on her own endeavours vis-a-vis working from home, bandwagoning, bananatarianism, pseudo-celebrity, etc. And to that end, and probably suitably advised by individuals, the pair of them have been told, you need to put on a united front for the purposes of your children, to the extent that those believe that they exist, and for the purposes of ensuring that other projects get over the line, so that Spare is well received, so that the docu-series has credence, that you deliver on the advances that you've received from relevant organisations. And that is why we've been treated to the occasional PR piece, for instance, the recording of the video in relation to Elton John, whereby, for the sake of the cameras, they can put aside their distaste for one another for a few minutes in order to pump that out. He does so because he generally wants to be nice about it. She does so because her narcissism dictates, because after all, she acts in each and every instance when she is involved with another person. And if her narcissism dictates, smile and wave for the cameras in order to create the appearance that all is well with Brand Sussex, because there's a greater gain for you to do so, then she will do so. But what about the evidence that supports that he has departed from Monty Shitshow? Well, I turn to observations that have been made by a Redditor, Secondhand Coke, who I've mentioned before, that comments on the Reddit thread at the St. Harry's wife. As you know, they use her proper name, I don't, where they debate many issues surrounding the Sussexes. And it provides us with an opportunity to look at this information and then consider it through the lens of narcissism and how it impacts upon the dynamic between Harry and Harry's wife. As always, I leave it up to you to determine the veracity of what I'm about to tell you, but I'm then going to utilise it, of course, for understanding the impact upon the narcissistic dynamic. Secondhand Coke wrote that this tracks, and by reference to this tracks is by reference to the forthcoming Nipple of Grope Awards. And basically, Secondhand Coke states, I predicted that Harry will not attend. All reports are that they are separated anyway. He is not wanting to go against his family and the A-list Kennedys. Secondhand Coke further wrote, I'm going out on a limb here that he will not go. He doesn't want to go, and there are big fights, I hear, surrounding whether he will go or not. Something just tells me he is sending her into that alone. He is done with her. He needs to avoid Chuck the Third's bad side as much as possible. Now, as you know, That bad side is the malicious aspect of another narcissist. Second-hand Coke continues to write, he's turning to his family for help, and not going would send a huge message to the Crown. It's a long shot, but I'm saying purely on guess that he won't go. If he doesn't go to the show, I don't see him going to New York City with her. The gossip in LA is that the fights over his going or not are huge, and he's standing his ground. We'll have to see. There's further comment about the distastefulness of attending these Kennedy Awards and what the award stands for with regard to standing up to structural racism and showing such heroism in doing so. And Second-hand Coke continues by stating, and it's being done at the same time as Earthshot in Boston, where Prince William is giving an award to inspire innovation like JFK, the Kennedy Prince, did with Moonshot. Meanwhile, the Windsor Spare is teaming up with the Kennedy Spare's legacy and bitter old Ethel Kennedy's legacy to create an award from a bogus and defamatory behaviour. This branch of Kennedy's will become tainted by this even more. People will dislike Harry and Harry's wife even more. They will be losers. William and Kate will be stars. It'll be yet another misfire by the Sussexes. They will be skewered by whatever self-serving speech full of lies they make. It will be a disaster and will hurt them more than the royal family. I'm sure of all of this, but there's one more thing. Expect her to explicitly attack the royal family, both in those speeches and, if she goes to Fallon, there too. You won't hear Harry level much, if any, criticism. He will stand there while she does it, but he won't be given a chance to say anything, and any denigration of the royal family will come from her. This prediction, to my mind, would be accurate. Although he has behaved like a complete twat, remember, this has been as a consequence of the diminution of his emotional empathy occasioned by the abuse and brainwashing that he's been subjected to. And if it's accurate that he's now had enough and he's starting to wake up to what he's been dealing with, basically, he looks at his family and how he's treated them and how she continues to behave and has decided, I'm not tolerating this any longer. He's not going to join in with these attacks. She will, because her narcissism will continue to urge her to do so in order to nullify the threat to control that the royal family demonstrate. And of course, at the core of all of this, she believes that she's the victim. She believes that she's the one that's been hard done to. And therefore, she would attend to make this speech for the purposes of nullifying the threat to control that the royal family poses, but he won't because he doesn't have that need for control in the way that she does. Second-hand Coke also states, if Netflix series is airing on time and the book is coming out, she thinks she's getting ready to expose the royal family for having abused her in some way because of her race. This underpins her deluded nature and the way that she views things again as her being the victim, you see. She really believes this, Second-hand Coke writes. Absolutely correct. A narcissist would, a mid-range narcissist that she is, really, truly believes that she has been abused, that it's been done because of her race, and that she's justified in exposing this behaviour in the way that she did in the Oprah interview. She really believes this, Second-hand Coke writes, and this is going to be her time to tell her story and bring her justice against them. It's going to fail, but I expect her to act this way for the next 3 months, and then expect maybe a tiny surge of sympathy before everyone comes to their senses. But mostly people were pointing out the lies between the book, the show, the podcast interviews, and will go down like the wicked witch that she is, and then divorce. So the prediction is that they're not together and that these recent PR things are being done for show, but even Harry is either not going to turn up to the Kennedy item because he doesn't want to, because he sees it as a further attack on his family, and that has resulted in the large rows that Second-hand Coke reports on, or if he does turn up, he's not going to say anything because he doesn't again want to attack them, but she will do. But the suggestion is that they aren't together. The suggestion is that he has departed. Now, is this correct? We simply do not actually know. But there would be grounds to support this because of the way that she's behaving and the way that she's ramping up the attacks against the royal family. She's doing so because, 1, she needs to nullify the threat to control that they pose. 2, she doesn't really see, or rather her narcissism doesn't see any balancing factors in terms of keeping them on side, and of course won't do because they're painted black. A more evolved narcissist might look at it and think, I stand to gain more by keeping in with them than attacking them. But as I've mentioned elsewhere, that ship sailed a long time ago because her narcissism isn't capable of evaluating it to the same level of sophistication as a more evolved narcissist would. So it's more of a sort of sledgehammer approach of, you're not doing what I want, therefore you must be racist. I'm now going to expose you all for being racist as part of telling my truth, and I'll monetize that because that's worth more to me than the royal family's worth. Although, of course, the diminution of the worth of the royal family to me has been occasioned by my own behaviour, except I'm incapable of seeing all of that. It remains to be seen whether he has departed. It would be understandable, given the way that she has behaved, although I still maintain that it will take a lot more for him to wake up truly to what she's been doing. But if it is accurate that he has left and he has escaped, then the activities of late, of course, are purely for the purposes of PR, and he may well be doing it subject to advices that he's receiving, and she's, of course, doing it because she is all about the appearance and not the substance. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.